Shaders are the thing that everyone wants to learn and the thing that almost everyone avoids, because writing them usually looks like this. Hi everyone, I'm Álvaro Sabo, the creator of Three.js, and today I want to show you how to create your own 3ds shaders without touching a single line of GLSL. Yes, you hear it right, just JavaScript code that you can reuse and, if you want, type safe with TypeScript. But you might wonder why it's so difficult to write without TSL. If you're interested, stay in this chapter, but if you want to jump ahead directly to the TSL implementation, just skip this part and jump to the next section. Before TSL, customizing a material meant one of two painful paths. You either needed to create the shader material from scratch by importing it from Three, and then just initializing with a vertex and fragment shader and wiring up all the uniforms by hand, like the colors of the particles. The problem is that those GLSL shaders look like this. They're just strings because we cannot actually autocomplete them. We don't have any type checking. The errors only show up in the GPU compiled part, so they're really difficult to use, and it's not reusable. You cannot compose with this, right? Another way that you can do it is by overwriting an existing material. And the problem was that you needed to hook this on before compile and then just modify the shader on top of it. So you needed to actually do a replacement of the string with another one with a lot of boilerplate that you don't need. But this shares the same issues as the previous one. You needed to create everything in a string and you lack any other DX experience. So that's where TSL come to rescue, and what it means is that you're going to have an approach more similar to Blender or another softwares like Unity that creates shaders with nodes. A TSL shader looks like this. You import the mesh standard node material, and then you create the uniforms like you will declare in some variables like this, the top color and the bottom color, and then you create whatever factor of like a gradient, let's say, with the position of it. But you see, this is more similar to actually JavaScript or TypeScript code. And the good thing is that you can reuse the stuff here. You just set the material.color node or the alpha node or whatever other node, and you just mix utilities that come from Three. Alrighty, so this is what we are going to build today. Is the same scene as I created for the intro to TSL article available on my blog in alvarosabo.dev. It features the Blender cube mascot from Three.js, and what I essentially did was change the material into a shader material with TSL. It's a simple gradient that goes top to bottom, okay, with two different colors. This is what we are going to build. So to do that, I created a really simple Three.js vanilla project, and I loaded the model from the public folder. I'm using Vite for this. So you can use the boilerplate that I have available on my GitHub account. You can go here in Álvaro Sabo Modern Tree, okay? And you can use it by the CLI, so npx digit Álvaro Sabo Modern Tree and the name of your project. And you can download the Blender cube from the Three.js assets repository. You can go to assets model GLTF and Blender cube.glb. You can download it by hitting download in raw file and then moving it inside of your project. Before getting started, you need to change something on the boilerplate template that I give you. If you go to create renderer, you're gonna see that the default one is WebGL renderer, but since we are going to work with TSL today, we need the WebGPU render. All you need to do is change the WebGL one for the WebGPU and then use a wait render init to initialize this new render. That will make the create render and async function, so adapt everything in the code to make sure that this async function is called. But once you have it, it should show you something on the developer tools. So if you go to elements canvas, it should say Three.js, the version that you're using, WebGPU. Make sure this is working before we start. Alright, so what we're gonna do now is open here, and I'm gonna create a new folder called materials. And inside of material, let's create a gradientMaterial.ts. We're gonna import a mesh standard node material, and we're going to create gradient material and create a new material, and then just return it. And let's hit save, and then let's import here the gradient material. Perfect. And we go down where we have the GLTF loader, where this is the utility we use to load the Blender cube. And we're gonna uncomment this part here with basically I'm going through the whole model, all the childs here, and check it that it is a mesh. And the child name is cube002. This is the mesh, or like the gray mesh that you see here, that doesn't cover the eyes or the mouth. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this gradient material, actually get, let's put another name, get gradient material, and then here get gradient material from here, import, yes, and we remove this one. Okay, so now we can see that we have an empty material here, but that means that it's working because we haven't touched the gradient material yet. Let's start with the simplest of all shaders around, which is assigning one color into the material. So the way you assign color to materials is that you need to change the color node. And it could be tempting to do new color like we normally do on Three.js and just pass the X color here. The problem is that color node is not of type color, it's actually type node. And then you pass the type inside, which is the type color. So the way we can do this in TSL, okay, is we go here and we create a color and we say uniform new color, and this is a method that comes in TSL. Uniforms is the same concept as in GLSL, which is a way of passing variables between the context of JavaScript and the context of the shader. So we pass the color here, and then we assign that color into the material color node. And now it's correct. Now we see that the color has been applied on the whole object. Cool. Let's now add the two colors in the gradient. So we're gonna rename this one here, called top color. And we're gonna set a bottom color, same with the uniform and this pink color here. But we need a new way of adding into the color node because we cannot assign one anymore. So we need to interpolate between the two colors in an axis. So we're going to use the y-axis, which is the vertical one. We're gonna use the mix method or the mix node. Okay, we imported as well from TSL. So the first parameter is gonna be the bottom color and the top color. So in order to pass this node all the positions or coordinates of the object geometry here, we're gonna pass a special variable that is called position local y. Okay, you can import this from TSL. So this is an attribute node, and it gives all the coordinates from the bottom to the top in any of the axes. So it goes from 0 to 1, 0 to 1, and 0 to 1. Let's see what happens if we hit save. Okay, so we have a gradient, right? But it's weird because we have three colors actually. We have this kind of red here, and we have less of a purple that we had before. And then we have the pink here. So it looks like it's translated on the y-axis, and that's because our geometry actually doesn't go from 0 to 1. So it's not going here from, let's put the y-axis. So this is going to be the y-axis here. That's the one that we're using, position local y. And we need it to go from 0 to 1, but right now it's going from -1 into 1. Okay. This is also a 1. So what we need to do is normalize this position y in order to be the same as the geometry. So we're gonna create a factor node here, and it's gonna be the same position local, y, but we're gonna multiply it or divide it by 2, so it's gonna be multiplied by 0.5, and then we're gonna add 0.5. And then we need to pass the factor into our color node. And now it is correct because we normalize these values, and now instead of going from -1 to 1, it's going from 0, which is here, to 1, which is in the top part. But just before getting to the last part of the video, I wanted to show you something really interesting on how TSL translates into shading language in any other software. Here I have Blender. Blender is a known 3D software, open source. You can create models, you can create the scenes, you can create materials, and so on. And I want you to look at the shading nodes here on the cube. Does it look familiar to you? Because it translates basically exactly the same as what we did with TSL. There are minor differences. For example, it's important to know that the vertical axis here on Blender is different from Three.js because it uses theta axis instead. But this part here where it says texture coordinate and the separate x, y, and z, this is essentially the position local. And this is going to be the axis that you get from it. Then this is the normalization that we are adding into it. So when we multiply it by 0.5 and then added 0.5, and then this is our mix method where we have our bottom color or top color and the factor of the normalized value. And the result is exactly the same. So I put that in the article. So if you go to the article, there is the 101 comparison between Blender and what we did. Okay, so the Blender node and the TSL code, and this opens a world of nice stuff, because one of the problems of Blender when you export models is that if you have a complex shading or PBR texture setup here, it doesn't natively get imported into Three.js. But with this, we can recreate any shader into TSL and use it there. Okay, so as a bonus section for this tutorial today, I'm gonna show you how you can animate the gradient and also how you can animate using TSL the vertex shader. So we're going to simulate like a wobble, like the whole cube is doing a wobble animation, okay? How we can do that? We need time, and by time I mean a node. So we're gonna get a node from TSL. So we'll go here and we import time. Okay. So time is a uniform node of type float. So we need to multiply it by a speed. I'm gonna put 0.8. Okay. And the factor, what we're gonna do is we're going to oscillate it between one value and another. So we're gonna use a sine wave for that. Let's add a parenthesis here, okay? And this is also a node that we can import from here, okay? Well, it's not a node, it's a method that returns a node float, okay, correct. And here we need to add the time variable. So what we're gonna do is add it to the y-axis, so we want to affect the y-axis, and we pass it here as time. If we hit save, now you see that it goes from one color to another. And then it goes back to pink and back to purple. We could tweak it because then I don't know if probably we need to move this outside of it so it always remains between these two colors and it doesn't go to red. Yes, correct. So we normalize after we apply the sine wave into it, so we avoid having those red colors as before. This is how you can animate the colors. So now let's do the vertex animation. Color node is not the only node that we can modify. This is just the fragment shader. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna keep our time here, but we're gonna create a new variable, which is gonna be the frequency. And the frequency is gonna be our position local. And it's gonna be a y, and we're gonna multiply it by math pi. Okay, so this is gonna, I think it's gonna give us our the gradients or the radians. This is the radians, and we can go here to the material. So we're gonna say material dot position node. Okay, and this is a vector tree that we're gonna pass. This vector tree, don't confuse it with the one in Three.js. We need to import it from TSL. It's gonna be vec tree function. And this function, we're gonna pass 3 variables. We're gonna say position local x, and we are gonna toggle, we are gonna oscillate the x-axis. So we're gonna do sine wave, the frequency at t, so the time variable, this is the one that is changing all the time, and probably we want to multiply it. Let's see how much I multiply it here. So I did it for 0.1. Okay, let's see what happens. We can no longer see the cube, so let's see what we did wrong. The problem is that we need to pass another variables here, which is the y and the position local c. So if we hit save, now we have our cube back, and you can see that it's doing like wobbling on the x-axis. So this is the x-axis right here. So it's oscillating its vertex. It's displacing all the different coordinates of vertex in the different values of the sine wave. We can get a really cool, like another effect is if we modify, for example, the theta axis in the same fashion. So we do add, but instead of sine, let's use cosine, okay, which is another trigonometry function. And maybe this one we're gonna set as 0.2. So now it not only changed on the x-axis, but also in the theta axis. So it looks kind of weird because we are not animating this mesh right here. We're only animating the outside mesh. But yeah, this is how you can use the time functions on TSL to animate your shaders. So that's TSL, readable, composable, and type-safe shaders. If you reach this part of the video, it means that you're part of the 20% club that watched it all the way through. So please comment it in the section below so we can connect. If this video made shaders a little bit less intimidating, make sure you drop a like, comment it, and show me what things are you creating with TSL. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.